This is Broke Money Hustle. And now, here's Broke Money Hustle with Trico and Eric.
Hey, what is happening out there in the world of broke money? It's good to see you guys again. Well, not see, but good to talk to you guys again. My name is Eric, and this is Broke Money Hustle. I am, of course, joined once again by my intrepid co-host, Trico, aka TJ. How you doing, man?
Doing pretty good. Pretty good. It's a new day in the market, so that's always, I guess, good, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It was kind of a bittersweet day for me. I had a few things go up and a few things kind of go down. Unfortunately, my A1 stock, Ideanomics, suffered a low. I think it got down to $1.38 at one point today, and it's having to shrug off some bad PR from those last two hit pieces from those big shorters. But they just put out a press release today. They have a major investor of a hedge fund coming in that holds over 2 million shares or something like that. I haven't read the full paper yet, but they do have earnings coming out in August. So I think that share is just going to kind of bump and fizzle and kind of stay around between $1.40 and $2 until we get those earnings reports in, which is what I've seen with some of the stocks that I have. It seems like they don't pop until they get an earnings report or some PR, because the market's just completely fickle right now. It's so reactionary. What's been your experience today?
Just been kind of quiet with everything lately. Usually my funds get deposited every Monday, like $25 for me to kind of play around with for the week. I haven't bought anything so far this week or last week. I think I did one day trade last week, and other than that, everything I look at, it looks like things that I thought were a good deal a couple weeks ago, they're below what I even bought them for. So right now I'm just kind of holding on and kind of seeing what they're going to do with the unemployment thing they have going on. If that ends at the end of the month, I'm thinking if they don't renew it, a lot of stocks are probably going to, start like going down a lot. So then I can kind of stock up on everything. If they renew it, then I'm going to go and buy a bunch of stuff before the stock market goes back up again. So just kind of in a holding pattern, kind of saving all the money in the account for, a big buy on the next dip.
Yeah, one of the picks I talked about on Saturday that I've been dating, FUV, they had a really good day today. That's the stock ticker. The company's name is RC Moto, and they make these small EV vehicles for delivery and paramedics and first responders. That they can carry 2 passengers, or you can use it as a little delivery wagon. And they went up another 6% today, which was pretty nice. Sitting at $7.25, and I bought them in at $5.39. So
nice.
And that's been a nice little company. And Workhorse was on sale today, and I didn't have any money in the account to buy it. I just noticed it in after hours it was on sale. So maybe I can pick that stock up again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Other than that, we do have a really nice show. We have another guest with us today, Dave Herndon. He has multiple side hustles. I've been told by my co-host here, he's into enamel pins and some other things like that. So we're going to bring him on shortly and get to have him tell us a little bit about his businesses and his experience as an entrepreneur. And, if he's got any investment experience. I do want to remind everybody that we are not professional anythings. Well, we have some professional skills, but it's certainly not in investing and anything of that nature. So please do not take any of our ideas or any of our picks seriously. Take it with a grain of salt. Do your own due diligence. Look up these companies we mentioned and give them a look over before you do any investing. If you're going to invest any large amounts of money, please consult a professional financial advisor. Cannot stress that enough. And and just welcome to this journey. We started this little podcast to try to help people in our situation, sort of blue collar, paycheck to paycheck types, not be afraid of investing or try to pay ourselves first and grow the small resources that we have so that we can kind of get out of that paycheck to paycheck world. And so far, so good. And we're glad to have you with us wherever you're listening. We are on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and a few other different podcast places. And of course, you can join us in the comment section. We are live now on YouTube and Facebook. And if you've got a question or comment, chime on in and we'll put it up on the board and do our best to stumble over it. You got any other intro remarks before I bring in our guest?
No, I'm excited. He's got like a million different side hustles, and he's got a really good head for business and business acumen. So I'm really excited to have him on here.
All right. Well, without further ado, we are bringing in Dave Herndon. Dave, how are you doing today? And thank you for joining us.
Oh, I'm doing pretty well. Ironically enough, you're bringing me on, talking about my business acumen, yada yada. Today's my first day of being laid off from my job. So.
Oh no.
It's good thing you got side hustles then.
Yeah, it's just temporary furlough. I'm in the news industry for my day job, and with ad revenues dropping and everything, like in order to save jobs, we've been taking intermittent furloughs for a couple months. So I get the week off and get to sit and draw unemployment and work on my side hustles.
Nice.
Wow, that's awesome, though. And it's important that you bring up a good point. We can't always rely on the day job, because of there's other factors. We have the thing that should not be impacting us right now. And it sounds like you had a good plan to have some other backups in mind. Tell us a little bit about what got you into the idea of doing some other more entrepreneurial things and not just focusing on the one day job.
Well, I made a lot of poor decisions in life. Let's start with that.
Okay.
I got very deep into some college debt. I've got 6 college degrees. Don't use any of them.
Oh my gosh.
I chose to go into the news industry at the time when newspapers are dying and salaries are dropping. And they've been going that way forever. So I haven't gotten a raise more than 1% in 15 years. And it's just like, well, at some point you got to figure out what you want to do to how you're going to make money. Cost of living keeps going up. My paycheck doesn't. So I had to find a way to pay the bills.
Right. Absolutely.
I hear you there.
So I picked the perfect side business for being locked at home. I set up at comic book conventions and whatnot with a lot of my stuff. And so it's the perfect side business for being stuck at home when nobody can leave the house or gather in large groups.
So how much, because I know I do the convention scene too, or at least did. And it's really hurt me a lot to not have that income anymore. I'm getting a few stuff with online sales. How are you faring with during the thing that should not be with your side businesses?
Well, my online sales, I had been doing pretty well for a while. I had shut down a lot of my online accounts, or a lot of my sales accounts in January or so, because February, March, April are when I'm really busy in the con scene. And I just don't want to have to worry about like shipping stuff during that time when I have a show almost every weekend. So I had put everything on hold there right as things started to grind to a halt in the real world. So it was kind of bad timing, but I was able to kind of flip a switch, get back onto it. My online sales are up probably 250% over where they normally are for a year.
Nice.
But it's still just a small fraction of what I would have been doing if we were at shows.
Yeah, I definitely hear that.
Like my last show was in February. It was actually the auto show, the Autorama, and down at the old Kobo. That was the last show I set up at. I had a show in Toledo that I was supposed to set up at like literally the day they locked down the state of Ohio. So like I had no warning that like, hey, we're not going to do this.
Oh man. So it kind of came without any warning. You kind of had to reorientate your business more from being there in person at shows to kind of being more of an online presence, huh? Is there anything particular that you've done? Because the increase you had, you said it was over 200%. That's amazing. Is there anything you mostly can attribute that to?
Well, part of that is due to like my furloughs and all that. This is now my 4th week of furlough over the course of the last 4 months. So like I was able to like sit and focus on actually working and building new products during that time. So I've been debuting new products that I normally wouldn't do this time of the year. Mm-hmm. Normally all my new products come from like mid-November through the second week of January, because that's when I have time off of shows for the most part. I don't normally do a lot of creating during this time, but I've designed, I think, 12 new enamel pins since March. And rather than like saving them to launch at shows, I've been launching them online. I did a couple as pre-sales, but for the most part, like I found a new manufacturer to work with where my pricing's down probably 20% over what normally would be for my production cost.
That's awesome. That's a good savings.
And because most people don't realize, like, either I was overpaying before or whatever, but like I've kept my prices the same and managed to save 20% or so on production. So my profit margins are way up too.
Nice. That's really good. So then, so you're using your time really, really well to kind of develop your side hustle and everything. That's something I've always kind of advocated since, the thing that shall not be named kind of gave all of us a bunch of extra time on our hands to that everyone needs to use it wisely, work on your side hustle, come out of this, quarantine that we have going on with a lot stronger side business and hopefully a lot better finances. So it sounds like you're doing that and making it happen. So that's awesome.
Well, in that specific angle, I am. Other than like the fact that, like I said, I'm like my sales in general, like in person, would have been way higher though. Mm-hmm. So like I'm still not making nearly the amount of money I normally would, but like just the online side is where I'm up.
Cool.
And I think a lot of that has to do with people being stuck at home and not going anywhere and shopping too. I don't think it's specifically things I'm doing.
Oh, I hear you there. I find myself looking around on Amazon a lot more. Yeah. Because there's nowhere to go, so I'm like, a lot of things I want to buy before, I'm like, I'll just buy it now because I don't have anything else to do. I even bought like a couple weeks ago. I bought like a lock picking set because when I was a kid, I always wanted one because I thought it would be cool, and they actually make them, and it was fairly inexpensive. So I was like, oh man, I could do that. I still haven't used it yet, but I normally if we weren't under quarantine, I probably wouldn't have bought it. So
take us through kind of like, without giving away any of your trade secrets or anything, take us through what kind of process, because you seem like you make a variety of different things that you're selling online, but you sell them at shows. So how do you pick what things you want to do? How did you get into enamel pins, that kind of thing?
Well, it all really started that, as both of you know me. I'm massively obsessed with Ninja Turtles. Like that's how the whole side business started. It was like, I want to make Ninja Turtle stuff, or like I want to sell Ninja Turtle stuff. I want to finance my collection without it coming out of my pocket. So it's like, well, what can I do to where I can afford to buy more Ninja Turtle toys and stuff? So I started the business, and I actually started buying like charms and whatnot from China and chains and all that, and like making jewelry, like necklaces, stuff like that. 'Cause I'm like, I don't see a lot of people doing this at conventions. My job at the time allowed me to go to a lot of conventions. I was a newspaper writer, so I would go there on a press pass and wander around, take photos and everything. So I kind of would go to a bunch of shows. I kind of saw what wasn't being sold, and I'm like, I could do that. So I started making stuff that way. My first year, sales weren't great, but they were good enough to finance a year two. I bought a bunch of knockoff Legos one winter because I was bored. And I'm like, I've got like 6 weeks. I'm gonna sit and build Legos, and maybe I'll make necklaces or keychains or whatever out of them. I realized that I could sell a keychain for like $5, but it took me like 15 minutes between building it, drilling out the stuff to make the necklace and all that out of the Lego. Or I could just sell the Lego without it, build it, sell it for $4, and like the profit margin was way higher just to sell the figure than the actual make the jewelry. So I started doing that. Definitely made sure I let people know that they were the knockoff import ones. I don't want anybody to think I was trying to sell the real stuff. Especially at my prices, you'd never think. Most people shouldn't believe that anyway, but I never want anybody to think they're getting something from me that's not what it is. But that allowed me then to get bigger booths and then to fill bigger space. Like I started making more stuff. I actually started writing some books. I've got a couple of my own books coming out this year. So the import export really is what allowed me to start like expanding. Although that's kind of dying off a bit too now with the increased tariffs and shipping prices going way through the roof.
You gotcha.
The enamel pin thing though, like I started buying Ninja Turtle pins, and then I realized like, hey, there's people making custom pins. I don't have to buy just like the Mirage Studio or the Playmate versions, or now it's Nickelodeon. Like there's all these custom ones, but I'm not an artist. So like I started out the very first time I was taking photos of my toys and then turning those photos into vector files, having the vector files turned into pins and selling them that way. And so it was like, hey, everybody wants this April O'Neil news van, but nobody wants to spend the $700 to buy the toy. I'll make an inch and a half enamel pin, sell it for $10, and I'll sell a ton of them. And it didn't sell all that well, but it sold well enough that it financed me doing a second one. And I was like, hey, what's popular right now? So I did Stranger Things.
Nice. Yeah.
That was during season 1. And I was like, it didn't sell nearly as well. And then Netflix tried to sue me and yada, yada.
Oh, seriously?
Well, they sent me a cease and desist order. So those are no longer for sale. They are, however, still being given away because I still have lots of the 100 I made. They're being given away with online orders. But so I went back to I made some other Ninja Turtle designs, and I did some of my own original designs. Mostly these days I hire an artist. I pay them either cash or in pins themselves. And so I'll take like an idea I have, go to an artist, be like, are you willing to do this? What's your, if we can work out a deal, then I have the pin made. Because like I can't draw a stick figure and make it look like a person.
I hear you there.
Is the pin, is that outsourced overseas as well, or do you have production here in the States?
There's actually not a single large factory that will make an enamel pin in anywhere in the U.S.
Oh.
The byproduct of making it is not necessarily legal here.
Oh.
So pretty much you're looking at China, Japan, Taiwan. There's a couple factories elsewhere, but almost every enamel pin you see is made in one of those 3 countries.
Cool. So that was pretty cool. You found like a nice like market niche, and the naturally Ninja Turtles have like a really good following, and it was a nice little like niche and everything, because people that, like you said, that enjoyed the April O'Neil van from the TV show, they can't afford the toy, so the next best options to buy the pin that they can put on and wear all the time, whereas you can't really carry around a toy all the time.
Well, and that's kind of what I did with like my first 10 designs or so, other than that Stranger Things one.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like, what would I want? Like, what pin doesn't exist that I want? And then from there, I kind of expanded to more like, well, now I need to sell stuff that the customers want, not just me, because they want more stuff than just what I have.
They want something besides Ninja Turtles.
Well, and like I was never into like horror movies or anything, but like the horror crowd is big on this stuff. It's like, well, why should I cut myself out of that side of the market just because it's not for me? Excellent. So I do have a line of horror stuff going to be coming out later in the year.
Oh wow, that should be. I know horror is crazy, sometimes crazy money. Like the fans are just voracious for that kind of stuff. So that sounds like a cool extra market to get into. So is other than the enamel pins, is there anything else that you'd like to highlight that you manufacture?
I'm not really manufacturing anything else specifically right now. I am going to start doing some of the enamel pin designs as like necklaces, but that's pretty much using the same mold, just adding a little ring to it and not putting the pin back on it. Because I do still think there's a market for some of this stuff as jewelry. I'm not sure somebody wants like the 3-inch arcade game as a necklace, but maybe some of the other items.
I don't know. That might be kind of cool.
That would be awesome.
But I'm not sure I could sell necessarily like 100 of them.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just thinking of like the 1-up arcades that came out. I don't have room for those, but if I saw an enamel pin of like an old Street Fighter arcade cabinet or a Neo Geo one, I'd buy that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, well, the Ninja Turtle arcade cabinet one, that was the 3rd pin I designed, and I sold out of it in 6 weeks. I've never completely sold out of another pin yet. I have anywhere from like 5 to 20 of a lot of designs left, but I've never sold out of any of them. But I sold out of that one in 6 weeks.
Nice.
But I promise my customers all the time, like I will never make more than 100 of these. So I stuck to it and didn't reorder them, even though I probably would have made a fortune.
Wow.
You're a lot better man than me. I would have called up my my manufacturer. Like, yeah, I need another 1,000. Only label them 1 to 100 though.
Well, I'm really thinking about doing like a paint variant of it. Maybe make it glow in the dark or do different painting because, like, to me, that's different than the initial 100.
Oh, exactly. That'd be awesome. Then you don't have the tooling cost of making a new enamel pin, but you have another product to sell.
So yeah, that's my thought on that one. But I'm still leery because, like, that was 3 years ago, and I was like, I don't know. I did promise I'd only do 100, and I didn't mention maybe doing variants in the future. So I'm more careful with my wording these days. I make sure, like, I'm only going to do 50 of this paint scheme of that design.
Right.
That way, nobody questions if I want to do it in a different scheme later.
Give yourself an out. What's your average turnaround time from getting final art done to getting the physical pen in your hand? How long does that take?
Discounting like any of the problems we had during early in the year when a lot of the stuff over in China was shut down.
Right.
But during typical production, from the time I finish a pin, like I prove the final art to the time I have it in hand is normally 18 to 25 days.
That's not too bad.
No, it's really not. The factory I'm working with now is really good about that. I have a very low flaw rate. I normally get about 95% that are good, which is that's part of the problem in this industry is a lot of times when you find the company that'll do it cheap, their flaw rate's really high.
Yeah.
So trying to find a good middleman in there, a good middle ground, I guess, not a middleman. I work direct with the factory to keep the prices cheaper. But the one company where I made my first pin, it was costing me almost $6 a unit to make them, and they sell for around 10. Like, that's just not worth it if you're not selling out quick.
Right.
Yeah.
Nowadays, like the per unit fee with shipping and everything, I can get them under $3 normally.
Nice. Those are some good margins right there.
Yeah, so you have about a 70% margin on that, but then like if you sell it through eBay takes a roughly 10% cut. PayPal takes about 4.5%. So that still leaves you about 60, anywhere from 55 to 60% profit margin, though.
Yeah, and that's still a pretty decent profit margin considering, like, you know, what some other things can give you something really low. Like, we get excited over our stock going up 2%.
Exactly.
So,
like outside of like art prints, like I don't know that there's really anything with a better margin on it, like in the comic book industry, like the Comic-Con world.
yeah, like actually producing a comic, your margins are so razor thin for the most part, especially if you're just doing small direct printing, digital print runs. You might order 100 copies at $1, $1.50, $2 a piece, maybe even $2.50 if they're really nice cover stock and stuff like that. And then you're turning around for maybe $4 if you're lucky, $5.
Yeah, $5 if you're somewhat famous.
Yeah. and then it's just like that's such a high volume that you have to cover financially to get your initial purchase. Now, I don't recall. I apologize if you already touched on that, but your minimums. I'm sure the factory has minimums.
Yeah, actually, the factory I'm working with now doesn't have a minimum. I could literally make one of a pin if I wanted to, but you have to pay the tooling cost, which is a set fee, no matter how many you make, and then like your unit cost, and like they're not gonna want to make a single pin, but they would, but then they charge me like if I order less than 100, they charge me a sampling fee on top of that.
Okay.
Gotcha.
But I have done, especially like limited runs of like 15 of a certain color, like of a color variant. But I still end up ordering like anywhere from 75 to 100 of the design, just different color variants. And depending on how low the order you go there, sometimes they charge you for the sampling fee for under 100 of each color. That really just depends on if your rep is being nice or not for the day, really. If they're in a good mood. And for the most part, like I do pretty good stuff. I work with an artist friend there who helps me like with the exact final designs of the pins these days. Misty Bondi Art, I'm not sure if you guys know her or not, but she's an amazing artist. Especially with the pin stuff, like she's got it down very well. So I pay her a small fee to fix like the lines and coloring specifically for enamel pin stuff.
Cool.
and she's made my designs 1,000% better. Like you can clearly see when she started working with me and when she didn't. Like the designs are way better. But she got a pin in today where they forgot to put the epoxy coating over it. One that she had made for a friend of hers.
Ooh.
And like it's only like $20 for the run of 100 to do it. But like the pin looks really not good without it. And like they went ahead and they forgot to take a photo of it and send it to her before they shipped them out. And then they shipped them to her, so now they're gonna have to remake all 100 and send them to her. Send them new ones, which that's kind of like from a business perspective. Okay, now she's gonna end up, with basically a second variant of all these pins. One with the enamel, one without. But like she could sell all the other ones at a discount, but they were all completely free to her. So that's like a huge margin.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like it's actually it helps because like it's going to be vastly different from what she wanted, but it doesn't necessarily look bad, at least to me as a non-artist. And like so now all of a sudden like she can double her profit margins on those because like the company doesn't want them back. They're just gonna have to throw them out. And like it's bad that it happened because now it's another month behind for the artist to get their stuff and all that. It was something she did special for a friend of hers. But like at the same time, we don't have Comic-Cons or anything going on right now. So like outside of a few online sales, like it's actually not going to hurt her all that bad for the timing.
Yeah, that's true. Could she get like a clear coat enamel, like a spray or something, and spray over the pins?
Well, it was supposed to be like an epoxy filling to put over it to make it look like a hard enamel pin without being hard enamel.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
So I mean, like she probably could, but I'm not sure it'd be worth I'm not sure it'd be worth it since the company's going to end up having to remake them anyway, since she paid for it already.
Gotcha. Yeah. Cool. And so for a while, you were also in like the real estate game or something, huh?
I had some rental properties for a while. I really didn't like it, but basically it was just it started out with just the house I had bought. When I bought it, they had some renters living in it. And while I was really looking forward to moving into my house, I realized like I was paying like $700 a month rent where I was living. The renter was paying me $1,000 a month. It's like, well, why move when I'm making money off it?
Yeah.
Exactly. So rather than throwing her out of her lease, I let her stay a year and a half. I'm like, well, I guess I get to stay living where I'm at, and it's weird to own a house and still be renting, but it's like it makes more financial sense. And then I moved into the house. I lived there for about 3 years, and when I decided to move, like the housing market still wasn't great. We were only maybe a year and a half past the crash. It was rebounding, but it wasn't great. So like the house when I bought it, I paid like $22,000 for it. It was worth about 100 pre-crash, and like when I went to sell it, like it was still only worth maybe 25 or 30. It's like, well, I don't want to sell it for that because like I know it's going to go back to what it was worth. So I put renters in it, let the renters live there about 5.5 years, and then sold it for a big profit once the market rebounded. But nice. In the meantime, I had renters in there, and for a while I had picked up a couple other rental properties here and there, but I really didn't like being a landlord, especially with my day job taking up so much time and then trying to do the Comic-Con scene on the side and getting more into the design stuff at the time. And rental property is great when you're just collecting the check every week or every month. When they start breaking stuff and you got to fix it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because that was something I was thinking about lately. Is if we have another crash in the fall, due to different things going on, pretty much using kind of like your model of buying during the market crash, renting them out until the house prices kind of get back to where they were pre-crash, and then selling them. Because I remember we talked about one time. I'm like, that's genius. Like I think that's when we became best friends.
Well, the problem is you just have to have the money to afford it when the market crashes, because the bank isn't going to give you a loan on 3 or 4 houses at once.
Oh, exactly.
During a crash. But like if you buy in the right cities where when they crash they go down into the 15,000-20,000 a piece, and they're still not in bad neighborhoods, like you might be able to afford to buy a couple houses all at once.
Yeah. That's the tricky part now. Everything I see that is a pretty low price where I know I can rent it out and make money. It's not somewhere I want to go and try and collect money all the time, So,
All right, so you just need to hire yourself a manager.
yeah,
We'll go do it for you.
exactly. Or an enforcer to kind of go collect my money for me.
One of our previous episodes, we actually had Mark Raymond on, who that's his business is TMI Realty. He does property management company services.
That's probably what I do is hire a property management place to kind of oversee it all. So I'm kind of more hands off in theory.
Well, my actual thought when I was in real estate was to buy a bunch of the houses that were like near where I was living, and then still hire a manager. But that way I could keep an eye on stuff as well. And I could just be like, hey, they're not cutting their grass, and tell the manager to go tell them to cut it. Stuff like that. Like they would never know I was the owner.
They would just think you're like a really nosy neighbor.
Right. Like they would never have to know that I was actually their landlord. But like that way I could keep an eye on things, make sure they weren't really tearing it up.
You'd be doing undercover landlord.
Yeah, pretty much. That would be awesome, though. You just see Dave with like binoculars, looking at the neighbors, seeing what they're doing.
And then I couldn't do anything about it because if they called the police or whatever to complain, I could just show them landlord, deeds.
Yeah,
like I own it. They can't stop me from looking.
Oh, exactly. They see you looking with binoculars, and then like 5 minutes later, they get a phone call from the property management company about not mowing the yard.
It was a good theory because like the house, like where I live now, there's like the other end of the block, like so maybe like 3 blocks down from me. There's like 4 little 6 apartment buildings that were for sale, and I thought about trying to buy those. Like, because I drive past them every day, but it's just not worth it to deal with all that stuff. I think over the course of the 5 years I was renting out that house, by the time you pay for everything, because down in Ohio where the property was, I was still responsible for the water bill as well as taxes and some other stuff.
Oh yeah.
By the time you pay for the structure insurance and the water bill and the taxes and everything, and then like the repairs on the properties, like I only made maybe $5,000 or $10,000 a year, and it was a lot of work for not a lot of money.
Yeah, it's true.
But that also could be that I'm not much of a handyman and couldn't fix a lot of things myself, so I was always paying people to do it.
Yeah.
Like, if you have the skills to do a lot of the repairs yourself, you probably save a lot of money in that aspect.
Yeah, that's true. We're doing a lot of like home renovation here, and sometimes I'll try to do it myself, and then I kind of get in too deep, and then I have to call someone anyways. And man, some of the prices to do stuff is insane. Like a hot water tank, ours went out. I'm like, I should do it myself, and then I chickened out because I'm like, I don't want to work with a bunch of gas and blow myself up and everything. So we called the guy to come do it. It was like $1,200 for a water tank.
That seems a little high.
Yeah, it was.
I think I only paid like $1,600 to have my furnace and central air replaced here at the house I'm in now, and that was including buying the unit.
Wow, really? That's incredible. That seems pretty cheap because I've been looking at trying to get the HVAC put in the attic in this house because we live in one of those situations where the basement gets you could hang meat in the basement, and the middle level seems fine, and we're just sweating up here in the upstairs. So I'd love to get the HVAC put in the attic and then have all the air just coming down naturally as cold air sinks.
Well, that sounds like you need to run the actual ventilation and all that too, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this was literally just to replace the unit that was already existing.
Oh, okay.
So it was literally just an install.
Okay,
Yeah.
just swapping it out.
Yeah.
So everything was already piped and all the electrical was there. They were just swapping it out.
Right. Probably something I could have done, but I didn't want to risk it.
Oh, I hear you. That's how I am anymore. In my 20s, I would do all this stuff. Like I did hot water tank in my 20s, and I didn't think nothing about it because, you're in your 20s. You don't think about, gas or anything blowing you up. So I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. Now I'm probably too cautious. But speaking of the heat, it's been so hot lately. We don't have central air here yet. So it got me thinking about stocks, like, so I started checking out some of the stocks for like companies that sell air conditioning stuff. And a lot of them are doing really well right now. I should have bought some Honeywell like a couple weeks ago or something.
Oh yeah, I bet. See, that's one of the things that it never even occurred to me to look up something like Honeywell. So
Yeah. So, how about you, Dave? Do you do any stock market speculation or trading or anything? Or
I used to dabble a bit. I made some good choices in my 20s, and then I made some bad choices in my late 20s, and decided I wasn't as smart as I thought I was.
I hear you.
Like I bought a crap ton of Google when it IPO'd and held on to it for like 9 years.
oh dang.
Oh, nice.
Like I spent my life savings buying Google stock that when it IPO'd, and then held on to it forever and made a ton of money. But over the course of like all the other bad decisions I made, I probably lost more than I made.
Oh.
Oh,
No, I hear you there. I call that the genius brain effect. When I make one bad decision, it wipes out any good decision I make.
yeah, we kind of have a recurring theme on this show about Genius brand stock because we've both had our ups and downs with it, and it's usually always downs.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for an up with that stock.
Well,
We should, huh?
I was gonna say I do follow a lot of when you post on Facebook about your investments, and I realized like I should just not buy that stuff.
I know, right?
We do always try to say in the show, don't take our advice. We're not financial advisors. We're just kind of learning this along the way and sharing our experience.
Yeah, I used to follow a lot. Like I followed along with my uncle a lot, but he would invest a lot more than I would. He was a retired former president of several divisions of Firestone Tires. He just had a lot more money to play with than I did.
Oh,
Oh,
dang.
Like when the crash hit in 08, he lost like $12 million in an afternoon.
Really?
Like, well, I'm never gonna have $12 million, and you're worried about losing it.
Oh, man.
So I followed a lot of like stuff he would tell me at times. I'm like, well, clearly, and what I realized is like he wasn't any smarter about it than I was. He just had more money where he could afford to lose it.
Mhm.
So it's like, yeah, he was making all these like really good investments, but just because he was investing in everything, like he was making just as many bad ones.
Oh, okay. So he might have been actually kind of more breaking even at some point than
Probably,
making anything.
yeah, probably. But he lived in $75 million mansion.
Hmm.
Like, so it's like, well, clearly he's doing something right. More so, it was just he had a really good day job.
Yeah. Sometimes you get sometimes you get lucky and get a good day job, and you don't have to do all the side hustles we do.
Yeah, well, and that's exactly where it happened with him, because like he retired from Firestone right before that big like recall. What was that, 20 years ago or so now? But
Oh, yeah.
like he got out right before that company went down.
Oh, nice. So he timed it out perfect. Then he got out of there right before it happened. Did he have a lot of stock in there that he had to sell off when he left, or?
I'm not entirely sure in that, but what I do know is like he had just bought the house. He had made like 6 payments, and part of his retirement package was they paid off his house and his 2 brand new cars. And
Oh, dang.
Oh, nice.
like, yeah, okay, so you buy a mansion and make like 6 payments or less, and then they're just like, oh, you're gonna retire here, we'll pay it off for you.
Oh, man, I got to renegotiate some stuff with my day job now. They'll get off easy. My house is pretty cheap.
Yeah, well, he lived on a private golf course in North Carolina on the 18th green.
Oh, nice. That would be
Only in America can an average person kind of get to those levels, though. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean he was born in Monroe, Michigan, and the 5th kid of 7 in a poor Depression era household. Like he did it right.
nice.
But he was also a really, really hardcore conservative that I didn't get along with well for a while.
Yeah, yes. You know how it is with family. Sometimes it's never talk about politics at the at Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner.
I
Yeah.
try not to talk about politics with anybody these days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no kidding. You never know how bad it's going to get, and it's just like, yeah, that's the waters you don't want to wade in.
Well, even if you agree with people, like if you don't agree with right to the exact word, you're going to get in trouble these days.
Oh yeah, cancel culture at its worst.
Yeah. That is
Yeah.
true.
Being that my day job, I run a newspaper in one of the most diverse cities in the country. Like you see that a lot.
Yeah. So, any other big projects you're kind of working on at your side hustles or anything?
I do have a couple books coming out this year, but I don't expect to make any money on them. As you know, there's no money in publishing books.
That's true. Yeah.
As Eric already mentioned, the margins are low, but on top of that, like not only are the margins low, but like nobody really wants them.
Yeah. Well,
Unless you're gonna publish a Marvel or a DC book, like nobody really cares who Dave Herndon is in the publishing world.
oh, they will now because you're on our show.
Yeah.
Now you'll be a household name.
Maybe we should write a book about this.
Yeah.
How not to invest.
Every chapter I'll have to write though because I'm horrible at it.
But at the end of the day, though, the point is still trying to learn, and eventually, if you keep that mindset and you try to learn to do the right things, you'll eventually get there in some things. The only way you lose is when you give up. Truly.
Exactly. Yeah, I like some of my portfolio and stuff. Some of it's not looking the greatest right now. I'm showing a lot of red, but I'm learning and adapting and trying new strategies, and especially with stock market stuff and investing. A lot of it depends on your personality type. Like I get really kind of skittish about when stocks go up and down, so I tend to just do more blue chips or something with like a dividend yield. That way, if it's down, I don't have to worry because I'm like, oh, it's down $1, but I'll get $1 in dividends this year, so it's fine. But like, for example, my wife, she has no fear. She'll buy 20 shares of something on a day trade, and she's kind of a risk taker, and then she'll make money at it because she has no fear. Whereas me, I'm like, oh, it's going back down, and I'll sell it and make $0.25 a share or something.
Yeah, and that makes it difficult because when you get into certain things like long plays, like I'm pretty deep in the weeds on Ideanomics, and I can't afford, I can't afford to do that knee-jerk reaction because the losses will be too high.
Exactly.
But from what I've learned about the company, about what they're producing, they're not only handling production, but they're handling the energy production and sales, and they're a conduit for other manufacturers to have a sales base and a showroom as well. So they've got all the right parts, and they've got some big chip hedge fund investors that have just signed on. So they have all the right parts to be a $20 or $30 stock within a year's time. So I've just got to kind of ride these ups and downs, and just some days you just don't look at your portfolio until after hours.
Yeah, I call those days most of June, like the last 2 weeks.
And we still never know what's going to happen because the Fed is printing money like crazy. And the Fed's always printed money ever since we got off the Bretton Woods standard. It's just been monopoly money paper, and the dollar keeps depreciating downward and downward. And that's why the price of gold keeps going up. And, silver is pretty much artificially depreciated right now because it should be a lot higher in comparison to gold historically. And it still is hovering at like $17, $18 for an ounce. So there's a lot of things that are at play that none of it we have in control over. So it's just kind of, close your eyes and throw a dart, and hopefully you'll hit something. But one thing's for sure is if we rely on the system that, they want the masses to have, which is just the fiat paper currency, go put your money in the bank and trust that it's going to be there. I'm not so sure that that's going to happen, So that's why I kind of try to diversify my investments. I've got some silver and some gold, and then the stocks, big chip EFTs through Acorns, and just try to do lots of different little things to where if one scenario hits, I've still got some little bit of a nest egg over here. Things like the Glint program, like Glint Pay, where you can buy fractional gold and then use it, MasterCard, to spend that. That's going to have value when the paper dollar finally bottoms out and hits zero. So, you just try to do a lot of diverse different things and try to play your cards right, I guess.
I finally got my silver in the mail today.
Did you really?
Yeah. Yeah. It was supposed to be here last week. I finally got it today. It's a lot smaller than what I thought. It sounded a lot bigger in my mind, but it's cool. It's the beginning of my silver hoard that I'm gonna start. Eventually, maybe I'll have a gold hoard, but with the price of gold, I think it's going to be a while before I get any gold.
Yeah, and it looks to shoot up too. So, but yeah, again, the fractional investment, that's where it's at for people in our situation, because I can't afford one Bitcoin, but I can buy lots of little bits of Bitcoin and watch that asset appreciate. And I can buy silver, still affordable, so that's why I'm gung ho on silver. With Glint, you can do fractional gold, so that's another good way. Stocks, we're able to buy fractional shares of companies like Amazon. I like fractional investment in Amazon. That thing's consistently always growing, and they just topped over $3,000 a share today.
Nice.
And I saw a news article, I think it was a Barron's article, that the speculators can't keep up with Amazon stock right now to even forecast it. So, and I think they've got a lot more announcements because I really think that they're looking at JCPenney's. There may still be a play there with AMC Theaters. There's lots of different rumors that you just never know, what's going to hit until it does hit, and then it'll cause your investment to pop. Now, I sent you a video on silver because for those of you listening, TJ decided to buy silver from a skeevy auction site. It wasn't even eBay. It was like some sort of used car salesman website auction. And I'm glad you actually received it in the mail, but you paid a bit of a high premium, didn't you?
Yeah, it was on an auction site, and I kind of misunderstood between ounces and grams. So I thought I was getting a really good deal. Wasn't as good as I thought. But yeah, and it had me worried because it said it was supposed to be here on the 1st, and then it wasn't here. So I was checking the tracking like every other day because they gave me tracking info. So I was checking every day, and it was nearby, but it wasn't delivered yet. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, am I getting this? Did I fall for a scam?" And but yeah, it finally came today. So it's the beginning of my silver collection. I was going to ask you about, I've heard of silver stacking. Is stacking applicable to gold too? And what exactly is stacking when it comes to precious metals?
There's two ways to three if you include the mining stocks, but if you're just looking at physical coins and physical bars, there's two ways of investing in precious metals. You can invest, which you're buying like rare coins or proofs, something you think is going to really appreciate in value, or you can stack it, which is basically using it to fund your own bank. This is more of a store of wealth. So, and the term is basically like stacking coins one on top of each other. And really good things to do for that is your traditional silver eagles, your silver maple leafs. Same for gold as well, but we're talking about, paycheck to paycheck income. So with silver, the actual minted coins for countries, Australia's, Britain's got a really nice design on it too. Those all have, their purity, the amount on them stamped, and they're issued by governments, so they're backed by the governments, and they're a really good investment for you. Now, if you don't want to pay the higher premium on those, you can go with silver rounds. Rounds are basically non-government minted coins, and you can get a lot of fun coins. Like I saw, there was a James Bond coin. There's some Marvel Comics themed coins, and again, this is a regular minted coin. It's kind of a novelty coin, but it does have it. This is an ounce. This is 999 pure. It has that information on it, and silver bullion dealers will buy that back from you in a heartbeat because it's something that's guaranteed. And that goes with bars as well. You can get some pretty cool bars that might have a dragon on them for commemorating a new year or commemorating a presidency, or like some of the foreign coins, like the Year of the Rat. There was a coin for that. And there's some Mexican ones too. And they just have different themes on them. But those are your rounds. And then you can buy junk silver, which are coins that were minted pre-1964, I think, that contain at least 90% silver. You often buy those in giant bags. You can buy them by the pound almost, and that's where you get your lowest premium price. And the premium is basically, You've got the spot price, which is what the physical metal is worth in ounces. And then you have the premium on top of that, which is what covers the cost of the bullion dealer, the mint, the designer of the plating, and all that. It's the added cost on making it into a really cool looking coin. And so you really want to try to get as low of a premium price as you can. And that means buying more than one coin. Like, for example, JM Bullion, where I get most of mine, you're looking at a silver Liberty Eagle coin, looking at about $25 a coin. If you buy more than 20 of those, you can get that down a couple of bucks per coin. If you go on eBay, you can buy the rounds at near $20, closer to that spot price. And that's kind of where you want to look. The one thing, if you're not looking as a store of wealth, then you're looking at historical coins, things that come up in auction. You're going to pay a lot higher premium on them. And there's no guarantee that if you needed to sell this to live in a post-apocalyptic scenario, that you're not gonna get that premium back. You're just gonna get the flat what the metal's worth. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not looking at coins that are collectible items. I'm looking at a store of wealth where I can take my fiat paper currency that'll be worth nothing eventually, and while it's worth something, turn it into physical money that's always going to be worth something. So that's kind of the game plan. And the video that I sent you does a really good job of explaining that. So hopefully you've had a chance to watch it.
Yeah. And it was while I was listening to it while I was working. So it's kind of hard to kind of soak it all in because, multitasking and stuff. So I have to kind of rewatch it and kind of put more, because it was interesting. Like, found myself, like, I'd kind of stopped working for a second and I was listening to it. So I was like, well, I got to give this like an honest watch when I can focus on it and actually watch the video instead of just listen to it play in the background.
And there's some silver rounds out there that I think you'll enjoy, some historical themed ones. Mm-hmm. I noticed there's one that's a Mayan calendar that seems like it might be right up your alley too.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Cool. Well, we're almost out of time. We usually try to keep these under an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. Dave, did you have anything else that you wanted to pimp? Where can people, you say you still selling online, where can people find your pins and your other things that you make and sell?
Well, I do have a Facebook page for my business. It's just Turtle Trinkets Jewelry. I rarely use it anymore.
Okay.
Just because I wasn't seeing a lot of engagement there, but it's easily found and I can be reached through there. I do have lots of different sales sites. I just started an Etsy account this week. I started a new one because I had shut it down for a while and this, that, and the other. I kind of forgot the password, but I don't want to tell people that. So it's called Pin Pals Shops with a Z.
Okay.
On Etsy. I literally just started it yesterday. 4 sales already this morning though. So it
nice.
started off with a bang there. All of my custom enamel pins that I still have in stock are listed there. A couple of cups, a couple of acrylic keychains. I will have more listed there as time goes along. I have 7 or 8 new pins in the works. That'll be posted within the next 2 weeks. Those are probably the 2 best places. If you want to just chat with me about anything, I'm available on Facebook or Twitter easily. NHDaveH on Twitter. That's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me.
Okay. Sounds good. And well, I think our other guest, the dog in the background.
Yeah, my little Chihuahua is quite a yapper. The rest of the household is out at the pool, and he doesn't like being alone.
Oh, poor guy.
I'm just happy it's not my dog for once.
That's actually, if anybody knows me from conventions, that's the service dog that comes with me all the time.
Awesome.
You never know he's at a show. Like when he's working, he's fantastic, but he's locked away from the person he's supposed to be working for, and he doesn't like it.
No. Poor guy. Well, we'll let you get back to him because we have run out of time. I want to thank you for coming on, Dave. Again, that was Dave Herndon. He's got Pen Pals on Etsy that you just opened up. Okay. So please check that out. We'll try to have a link down there in the description of the video on the YouTube site for you as well. And again, if you want to pick up some free stocks, either through Robinhood or Webull, we'll have links for that as well. And I do recommend the Glint, glintpay.com for buying fractional gold. It's a good way to put some actual money in a place that you can use it and spend it. And it'll be a good hedge against the eventual crash of the dollar, which I'm fairly certain is coming, because you can't just keep printing money and not have a collapse. That's history shows us that over and over again. TJ, did you have anything else?
Not much. As Eric was saying, I think we have links in our show notes to sign up for Robinhood or Webull. So make sure you do that. My niece recently got Robinhood, so I'm really proud of her. She picked out really good stocks. My portfolio is almost all in the red, and hers is just all green. So she's doing amazing. And she got a free stock, and I got a free stock for her signing up. So definitely check out Robinhood, Webull. Use our links too, so you get some free stocks when you sign up.
All right, and that's going to do it for us today. Thank you again. We will be back on the air on Saturday and kind of recap this week, which has been off to a bang in some ways and kind of off to a bum in some others. And we will catch up with you then. Until then, this has been Broke Money Hustle. Thank you for listening.
This is Broke Money Hustle. And now, here's Broke Money Hustle with Trico and Eric.